All right, the February 2nd, 2024 edition of the Mackinac Straits Corridor Authority meeting will come to order. Okay, thanks. The meeting will come to order. The minutes should reflect that both Ms. Webb and I are here. The first agenda item is approval of the agenda. We have one late item to add as number 6 under new business, and that will be an amendment to the legal services contract between the Department of Attorney General and Raymond Howd. And with the addition of that agenda item, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved. The next item is approval of the December 7, 2023 meeting minutes. Again, a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The minutes from the December meeting are approved. New business, the first item under new business is project permitting updates. And underneath that, the first item are updates with respect to the Michigan Public Service Commission permit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Devin Sullivan, the attorney for the Michigan Straits Corridor Authority. As was discussed during the December 7th meeting, the Michigan Public Service Commission issued an order on December 1st approving Enbridge's application for the Line 5 replacement segment. Various parties that intervened in those proceedings have now filed claims of appeal to the Michigan Court of Appeals. Those include the Environmental Law and Policy Center, Michigan Climate Action Network, Bay Mills Indian Community, Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians, the Natawaseppi Huron Band of the Potawatomi, For Love of Water, Michigan Environmental Council, Tip of the Mid Watershed Council, National Wildlife Federation, Little Traverse Bay Bands of Ottawa Indians, and Matthew Bork. The Court of Appeals has consolidated the majority of those appeals. Appearances have also been filed by Enbridge and the Assistant Attorneys General for the MPSC. We filed an appearance on behalf of the MSCA to ensure that we would receive notices of any filings in the appeal. The parties stipulated to extend the deadline for appellants to file their brief on appeal to March 14th, and that's currently the status of the MPSC proceedings. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
I don't have any. Commissioner Authority Member Webb? Okay, no questions.
No questions.
Thanks, Devin.
Thank you very much.
The next permitting update is the Army Corps of Engineers permit.
Morning, Chairman. Thank you. Mark Dubay. I'll give a quick introduction of myself since I've never been up here before. I am a senior project manager with the Michigan Department of Transportation, the licensed professional engineer. Have been involved in overseeing and managing large transportation projects. So recently we did sit down with the USACE. They are currently working to update the EIS schedule. Still no change from the dates that have been provided previously. The draft EIS targeting spring of 2025. With a
Mark, if I can interrupt for a second.
Sure.
Just for the benefit of the public, you've run through about 3 different acronyms, USACE, EIS.
Yep.
So for the public's benefit, if you mention what those are.
Okay, yeah, the USACE, that's the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the EIS, the Environmental Impact Statement. That process is ongoing. So they are targeting a draft EIS, or Environmental Impact Statement, spring of 2025, and completing the decision process spring 2026. Portions of that are currently being drafted. The Army Corps of Engineers is in consultation with Enbridge, preparing a list of alternatives. Cultural resource studies are ongoing. There is consultation ongoing with Fish and Wildlife to evaluate impacts on threatened and endangered species, and coordination is also ongoing with federally regulated tribes. That is the update. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't have any. Authority Member Webb?
No questions at this time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. The next agenda item under new business is construction contractor selection process and general progress update.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me here today. We are happy to give a contract update today for you. So we were able to, as anticipated, execute our contract for our tunnel constructor. So we're able to do that by the end of this past calendar year, as we discussed. Currently working to onboard that contractor and kind of thoughtfully roll them out to the public. As Mark indicated with his Army Corps updates, a lot of the focus for at least this next year for the contractor will be around permitting, really helping to ensure that we can move forward with the Army Corps and our permitting. So that's the update I have for tunnel contractor. Happy to answer any questions for you.
Okay. Just one question. You are cognizant, I'm sure, of the risk management plan requirement that was imposed by the MPSC in their approval of the permit. Are you envisioning that Enbridge would be the primary generator of that risk project management submission, that it would be the contractor or some combination of the two?
That's a good question. I think it's some combination. I know we've had, as the last meeting, I think there was an update from staff. We've been working towards, what that risk assessment looks like. So certainly having a contractor on board and understanding their processes and their plans that they have in place will play into that larger risk assessment.
Okay. Any other questions?
No other questions at this time.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next agenda item number 3 is the independent quality assurance contractor procurement. I almost said IQA, but I just lectured Mark about using acronyms. Talia, you're up.
All right, thank you. I'm Talia Balil. I work for MDOT in the Office of Major Projects in the Innovative Contracting Unit. I've been with the department since 2016. I am a licensed professional engineer, and prior to coming to MDOT, I worked for a consulting firm. So just a brief introduction since first time up here as well. So I'm up here this morning just to give you an update on the independent quality assurance contract. I'll refer to it as IQA because it is a mouthful from now on. So the IQA, as we mentioned the last time we met at the board meeting, a request for proposals had been posted to MDOT's website. That has since closed. It closed on December 11th, and we did receive 2 proposals. We then assembled a selection team to review those proposals and deemed that both of them qualified to move on into the presentation stage. So we had a presentation from both teams that were held on December 20th, and then a subsequent scoring meeting. And after careful consideration, our selection team has made the recommendation of Delve Underground Michigan's team to perform the IQA. I know that in your packets are the scoring sheets that reflect the decisions and discussions that were made by the selection team, as well as the proposals that were submitted by both teams. So I would be happy to answer any questions, and we also have the project manager from Delve that is here today as well, if there's any direct questions related to them.
Okay. I think, Talia, you should operate under the assumption that at virtually every meeting that the authority conducts, we're going to have some discussion of the independent quality assurance contractor, simply because of how important they are for purposes of establishing project oversight once things gear up, even before things gear up, but particularly once they gear up as it relates to the anticipated construction of the tunnel and their role in oversight of that. So can you speak to that just briefly as to your understanding as to the manner in which the IQA would participate in that oversight?
Sure. So the IQA is obviously an independent quality assurance. The contractor and Enbridge would be responsible for their own QA and QC as well. But with this would be a separate entity, independent of that would be providing oversight on the project. So they would not be performing QC necessarily testing themselves, but they would be responsible for oversight and overseeing that and evaluating results and things of that nature. Definitely an important role, which is why we've provided you with the documentation and are here today to ask for your concurrence with our selection that we've made so that we can move forward to getting them under contract. So as it is right now, that's just been our recommendation, so we're waiting for the board's concurrence of that, and then we would move forward to getting them under contract. And it would be great because Enbridge is also working at the same time to get their contractor on board, so it'd be ideal to have both of those parties on board at the same time so that they can start working together and devise a plan.
Okay. Authority Member Webb, do you have any questions?
Just, I guess, to comment, you know, I agree with you, you know, kind of having that coordination together. One of the questions I had was just, maybe not a question, but just a comment to making sure that they are brought into an understanding of what the risks that have been identified are. And so that'll be something that we'll kind of be looking at too, how they continually assess that as part of their work as well.
Actually, if you said that we have a Delve representative here today,
We do.
the lucky guy. Can you come up?
I'll gladly step back.
Hello, my name is Don Watering with Delve Underground.
Okay, thanks. I wanted to give you an opportunity to discuss a little bit your understanding, and this is primarily for the public's benefit, your understanding of the role performed by the independent quality assurance contractor as it relates to this project.
To represent the state, do an independent inspection, quality assurance, that might be some testing, that nature, to verify that the contractor is doing what they say they're going to do in their quality assurance program.
Okay. Let me tell a little anecdote and get your reaction to it insofar as it relates to this project, because I don't really have a construction quality background. But ages ago, when I was an assistant attorney general, one of the cases I worked on involved Consumer Power Company's construction of its Midland nuclear plant, which it abandoned after spending over $6 billion on attempting to construct that plant. One of the primary quality assurance problems with that facility is they had a massive soil compaction issue. And there was, I think, a pretty clear breakdown of quality assurance and quality control issues as it related to assuring that soils at that facility were appropriately compacted prior to creating the foundation for the reactor containment vessel. Before the facility was ever completed, it already had cracks in the walls of the reactor containment vessel. I know I'm just hitting this as an anecdote to you, and I didn't give you any warning that it was coming. But explain to me, for the benefit of the public, how an independent quality assurance contractor would be expected to review during the construction of a project documentation, construction processes, et cetera, in a manner that is ensured to prevent something like that from occurring?
Sure. First step would be during the submittal process, reviewing the submittal, making sure that their submittal for their procedures and identified things that they're going to be measuring is following the specifications in accordance with state of practice. And then once we agree that that is the case, that their work plan is correct, then observing them in the field as they are actually doing their own QA/QC, reading, their daily reports, et cetera, but also doing independent testing ourselves. Maybe at like a 10% level, something like that, performing our own daily reports and making sure everything meshes.
Okay. I'll throw out another anecdote. Also from my state government days, I used to represent what in those days was called the Department of Environmental Quality. And there were instances where DEQ employees would go out to visit different plants that might be the subject of air pollution or water pollution type violations of the respective environmental statutes. And it was important, and there was often a distinction between instances where the company knew that an environmental inspector would come out, and instances where they showed up without the company knowing they were coming in advance. And I give that anecdote to talk about what your understanding is about the independent quality contractor's ability to, I'll call it, pop in unannounced over the course of the anticipated construction of this project and obtain access to information and to records where it may be done in a spontaneous manner.
For one, we're going to have a full-time representative on site, so that instantaneous could be anytime that person elects to go out. But also, purposely preparing a time where we can instantaneously go out, or in conjunction with them. I think it's good to have a very good working relationship with the contractor and Enbridge so as not to purposely butt heads. Obviously, we represent the state, so the state's interests are foremost. But basically, having an independent person who's there on site who can go out whenever is necessary for whatever particular construction aspect is going on. And we have a team of inspectors that can be called in for specialties.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have. Anything else? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd entertain a motion for approval of the IQA contractor.
I make a motion to approve the IQA contract.
It's been moved to support the authority staff's recommendation that Delve be selected as the IQA contractor. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item is schedule of regular meetings. Right now, we just have identified general dates of June and October. And frankly, I don't think it makes sense to do any more schedule planning than that. As you may have noticed, we're down an authority member. At some point, it is anticipated that there will be the appointment of an additional authority member. And if we scheduled these meetings today, they may or may not work on the calendar of that new authority member, assuming that they are appointed between now and the June session. So I'm thinking it's best just to leave tentative months of June and October as the next regularly scheduled meetings, and leave it at that. Are you comfortable with that? Okay.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
So the next agenda item is a consultant contract update. Mark, you're up on that item.
Yes, there has been an organizational change, so HT Engineering has been providing technical services for the project, and Dan Cooper, who has been that person, is moving into retirement and leaving, so there has been a change within the organization at HT. Brian Cooper will be taking over on behalf of Dan. Brian and Dan are here. Do you mind, do you want to come up and introduce yourself for the board?
Thank you, Mark. I'm Dan Cooper. I would like to say a few words before Brian introduces himself, but just want to express my appreciation for the opportunity to support the interests of the state. Beginning back in 2018, I was able to work with the Michigan Public Service Commission as Enbridge prepared its alternative study, and then got involved in supporting the corridor authority following that. So just want to say how much I appreciate that opportunity, and I look forward to Brian stepping in. He's well aware of what I've been up to through those years, and look forward to Brian being able to continue for HT Engineering. Brian?
Before Brian starts, I just want to say, Dan, how thankful we are for the expertise that you've been providing in evaluating this project in a variety of different aspects of its potential construction. So thank you for all of the efforts you've put in.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chairman Novak.
Yeah, I also want to express thank you and wish you well in your retirement.
Thank you, Member Webb.
Are you going anywhere?
I plan to stick around. That's one thing, is that if questions come up that Brian needs historical consulting, I'll be around for that. So that's the plan.
So my name is Brian Cooper, president of HT Engineering, and as discussed here, I'll be stepping in to provide those services in place of Dan.
Brian, can you give, for the benefit of the public, a little bit of your background?
Yeah, so for the past 16 years, I've been working on both project management and design engineering for welded steel pipeline projects in the energy industry.
Okay. And for what entities?
Mostly for pipeline operators. We have also served in this project and for court cases as well as expert witnesses.
Can you name a couple of those pipeline operators? Pipeline operators are very vague.
True. Is that something I can do? I think so. Okay. Yeah, so our clients have included Wolverine Pipeline, headquartered here in Michigan. We have also worked for some of the producers in Michigan, up north, Lambda Energy, and others up there.
Okay. I'll wait. If you have questions like that, feel free during the public comment period to raise them, and if needed, we'll even bring folks back up to field them or try to get an answer to you, because I appreciate having those kind of questions brought up. But for now, I think that's it. Now, just to ask Mark, we actually are maintaining the contract with HT Engineering. There's no action really necessary for purposes of something that the authority needs to approve, is there?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep, and prior, you know, we did get a chance to review Brian's resume and background information and, you know, consult with others in the industry to verify, you know, Brian has the applicable credentials to step in and provide this service.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it for agenda item number 5. Agenda item 6, which was the new addition, is approval of an amendment to the legal services contract with Ray Howd. His term is expiring, but this enables him to receive the full compensation for the work that he had performed in the past. So I'd entertain a motion for approval of the third amendment to the legal services contract.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the amendment to the legal services contract for Ray Howd.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That modification or amendment to the contract is approved. We are now up to public comment, and the record or the minutes should, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Pardon the interruption, Chairman, member. But we do have to tentatively set dates and locations for the June and October meetings. Of course, those can be revised to accommodate the calendars of the new members and existing members when we can get, just set those, but it's an OMA, Open Meetings Act requirement, that we tentatively set those locations and date. I would recommend the Little Bear Arena in St. Ignace, where we've met previously. And then I could offer, I think we had some target dates set, and I apologize kind of on the spot on this, because I agree that setting dates that would have to accommodate a new member is going to be a challenge.
You know, Ryan, I think we can still actually put off doing it. I mean, the Open Meetings Act will require that a sufficient time in advance that we select the dates and location. And I'm fine with St. Ignace. But if we select those dates now, in all likelihood, they're going to change, and I don't think it benefits the public to have a date calendared and then and plan for it, and only to have, you know, the rug pulled out from under them because the date changes. And selection of dates for meetings is something that authority members are allowed to communicate about outside of a public meeting if the sole purpose of the communication is, hey, how's your calendar look for June 12th or whatever. So I'm fine just leaving a general commitment of June and October. Devin's going to come up and tell me why I'm wrong on Open Meetings Act.
Thank you. It was my novice interpretation of the Open Meetings Act. Devin, thank you.
So there is a technical requirement that within 10 days of our first regularly scheduled meeting of the year that we post the schedule for future regularly scheduled meetings of the year. So I think we do need to post that within 10 days of today. That does not necessarily mean that today we need to decide those dates, but we are sort of on the clock now to post those dates.
All right. And that's not from the Open Meetings Act, but from what other requirement?
That is from the Open Meetings Act.
Okay. All right. So we will, within 10 days, throw dates on the schedule, but I'm just telling the public now, we don't even have our third authority member. Those dates very likely will change. And we will try to get them nailed down with as much advance notice as possible so that in the event you are interested in attending those meetings, you'll know. All right, now we are on to public comment. The minutes should reflect the written public comments that we receive. If you want to come up and
Hello. Before we begin public comment, I wanted to give you all an update on some new processes for leaving written public comment outside of these public meetings. On the Mackinac Straits Corridor Authority webpage, you'll see an email address, mdot-msca@michigan.gov, and also a contact form. Both of those allow for attachments, so things like letters, et cetera, you can now share with the authority. And also regarding the meetings, they are added to MDOT's transportation events, which can be found from the MDOT's homepage. And the website is also, for the MSCA, is under councils and committees. So with that, we can go ahead and get started on public comment. And just please keep in mind you have 3 minutes to address the authority. The first person is Valerie Blakely, followed by D.
And before Valerie speaks, I just wanted to make a couple observations that I think would have assisted the public comment from our last meeting and to clear up any misconceptions. Number one, neither Ms. Webb nor I are paid members by the state. We both have outside jobs. We do this as a volunteer thing.
You volunteer to wreck the Great Lakes? You wake up every day and
Just let
volunteer?
him, you get your turn, let him have
I'm
his.
sure a number of you are questioning who'd be crazy enough to do this as a volunteer. Our first speaker, I'm guessing, might have that thought. And there are days when it does seem crazy to volunteer for this. But I just wanted folks to understand that this is not a full-time job or something for which we get payment to sit on the authority. The second thing is as it relates to the existing Line 5. The authority is created by a statute that was enacted by the Michigan legislature. It gives us no authority over Line 5. If it would be my policy preference to have Line 5 discontinue its operations today, that's my view on it, but that is irrelevant to our consideration of what this authority is authorized to do under statute. And we simply have no ability to say, okay, the existing Line 5 should terminate its ongoing operations today or tomorrow or whenever. So I just wanted to make those comments because I think it gives the public a little better idea of those areas where we do or do not have authority and what our role is on the authority. With that, first speaker.
Sorry, I got to gather myself with homie who wakes up every day and volunteers to trash the Great Lakes. Let me gather myself. And Mr., we represent Michigan over here in the middle. We represent Michigan. No, you don't. The water protectors in the room represent Michigan because nobody in Michigan on either side of the aisle wants Line 5 to be running through the Great Lakes and 70 different tributaries throughout Michigan into the Marathon refinery where the entire neighborhood and the entire Southwest Detroit neighborhood is being harmed every flippin' day. You don't represent Michigan. The laughing in the room as you're all sitting around patting each other on the back. Everybody got jobs. You got jobs destroying the planet. It's unconscionable that you're sitting here smiling and laughing when we're talking about the Great Lakes. We only got one. Well, we've got a lot, but we only got one Great Lakes, right? We've only got, it's precious. It's 20% of the world's fresh water. The laughing and patting each other on the back is disgusting. The waking up and volunteering to destroy the planet is disgusting. I'm mad that I'm here. I'm worried about my kids and their future. This is unconscionable. I want you to know the public isn't going to let you do this. We will not let you do this. You must decommission Line 5 right now. Right now. It has to happen. No rerouting, no tunnel, nothing would save the Great Lakes from a catastrophic tar sands oil spill. Nothing. You can't clean the shit up. It's sticky. It sticks to everything. It's the worst form of oil on the planet. They're trashing the whole boreal forest to dig it up. The indigenous people consider that the lungs of the planet. So, we're not going to be able to breathe. We're not going to have clean water. It's going to look like Southwest Detroit everywhere. I'm mad I'm here. I shouldn't be here. And quit patting yourselves on the back for jobs where you're ruining the entire planet. You all need to sit with this. You need to understand that future generations deserve to have access to the Great Lakes. They deserve it. Your children might want access to the Great Lakes one day, lady. I'm done.
All right, next is D, followed by Christiana, and you can start coming on to this side of the room to speak. If D isn't in the room, we can move on to Christiana, followed by Megan Douglas.
Hi, I want to echo a lot of Valerie's comments. To be honest, I'm really ashamed to be standing here right now. I'm ashamed at the state of Michigan that they intend to move forward with the Line 5 tunnel. I've lived here for nearly 10 years, and I've had awareness of the prior catastrophic oil spills and the dangers of Enbridge pipelines 3 and 5 the entire time, believing that our governor was going to shut them down long ago, but I'm still standing here. Enbridge has run its pipeline illegally for the past 20 years past its warranty, and it's just really confusing to me that they are rewarded for this activity by being given more of Michigan's money and more access to our resources. If you don't have any authority over Line 5 and you only have authority over this tunnel, I don't understand why you would be sitting here debating whether it is correct or right or safe, and if you really truly believe that that it should be shut down, that's just insane to me. Like, it's just not a small issue. It's one of the largest issues facing anyone, and I don't know. I feel really emotional about it because I love these lakes, I love this water, and that's really personal to me, but also it's necessary for life. And I also just don't know how you live with yourselves. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Next, Megan Douglas, followed by Samantha Cooper, and then Bill.
And just quick, how many additional speakers do we have signed up? Sorry, Megan.
That's okay. There are 9 in total, and we have 6 to go.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not going to go over any of the policy stuff because you guys already heard that and you understand it. You know that Enbridge is operating illegally. So I'm just going to say, in 2017, the Wanganui River in New Zealand became the first in the world to be considered a legal person. It means that it can now be represented in court, and it has 2 guardians appointed to speak on its behalf. For those of you who think that idea sounds absurd, I'd point to the Citizens United ruling handed down by the Supreme Court in 2010, establishing corporate personhood rights in the U.S. I'm providing this juxtaposition for those in the room who can't understand or refuse to dream beyond what it means to continue on, allowing greedy and disconnected corporate actors to pollute, plunder, and prevaricate as it relates to their beneficents in managing the best interests of Michigan's water. I, for one, have zero faith in the ability or desire, or indeed actual accountability, when Enbridge eventually fails and imperils all of our lives. So I ask, has any of you asked what the water thinks? I referenced at the beginning the actions of the Maori in New Zealand law because I want to highlight for everyone that it's not impossible to dream bigger, to see beyond the revanchist dystopia that is disaster capitalism, to connect back to your humanity. I also remind us all that humans are made up of about 60% water. That means we aren't just talking about harming a distant or inanimate body of water. We are speaking specifically of self-harm. To me, the most absurd thing is that we are here at a meeting to pass motions and greenlight permits that will lead to our collective demise. So is Enbridge then our Dr. Kevorkian? I would probably guess that within this room, the memories we all hold related to water, swimming in our Great Lakes, a cold drink on a hot day, your child's first baptism, washing hands to save lives, a hot shower in the cold, make us happier than any moment we've spent in a gas station, driving past Marathon on 75, hearing what Enbridge did in Kalamazoo, losing sleep over whether today will be the day our water is lost. I think we can all do better. That's all I have to say. And I would hope that you guys would dream with us that our future could look way better than oil in 1/5 of the world's fresh water.
Thank you, Megan.
Next is Samantha Cooper, followed by Bill, and then John Woodward.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Samantha Cooper. I'm here with a number of grassroots organizers who are extremely concerned about what's going on with this process and the Line 5 pipeline from the Canadian oil company Enbridge. I understand that the MSCA doesn't have the authority to decommission the Line 5 pipeline, even though Governor Whitmer has ordered it, and Dama Nessel is fighting it, and all 12 federally recognized tribes want it shut down in Michigan and have written letters to Biden. There's also 60 tribal nations that are opposed to this pipeline. It's actually incredible how broad and sweeping of a coalition we have of people that are very concerned about Enbridge and the fact that they're running a pipeline that is 20 years past its projected life through the Great Lakes. So we understand that the MSCA doesn't have authority over this and that they're not able to decommission it. I appreciate you sharing your personal opinion that you'd also like it to be decommissioned. And I would invite you and encourage you and all of you to have conversations with those of us who are also volunteering our time and who are very concerned and want to have conversations with all sorts of people about this, because it's way too important to just sit in our little silos and feel self-righteous. Is my mic still on?
No, it cut out for.
Yeah, could I get the mic back on, please? And could my time be stopped? It's on, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. So, to summarize, there's a lot of volunteers in the room, right? So we are also here volunteering our time. No one's getting paid today. I organize with the Great Lakes Water Protector Network and a bunch of other grassroots organizations and friends. And most of us are losing money to come to these things and paying to park and feeling stress in our bodies. But I was a resident of Kalamazoo in 2010 when the second largest inland oil spill happened on Enbridge's clock. It was their oil spill. And it's not been fully remediated, and it can't be. It can never be. I go kayaking down the Kalamazoo River now, and I'm afraid to fall in, knowing that I know fishes or swims in the Kalamazoo. And I don't think you can understand what happens to a person when your waterway is poisoned in that way. You can't know until you know. So, there's many Ohio rivers where people do not fish or swim anymore. And we are not entitled to that greatness in the Great Lakes, right? And this is our whole lifeway, it's our tourist economy. Then anyhow, I want to get back to my point here is that we're all trying our best, we're all volunteering, and I think we all are in sort of a post-truth society where we can't agree on basic truths anymore. And so I would love to talk with any of you and hear your points of view and try to understand where you're coming from. But from all the data and research that I've read, I am extremely concerned about Enbridge. They have a very a bad track record. They've already spilled 33 times along the Line 5 route and more than 1 million gallons of oil in our Great Lakes. So I just want to urge you all to not feel entitled and just think, it'll be fine, because their track record is awful. And people don't have to be perfect, but for the pipelines that are running through our Great Lakes, they have to have a way better track record than this, and we don't need it. We have data that says that there'd be a temporary price increase of not more than 5 cents per gallon if Line 5 was shut down, and that UP propane retailers have notified their customers that they can still provide propane without Line 5 supporting local UP businesses. So again, there's a lot of confusion and misinformation. Please do your research and talk to people who have been impacted and understand what's going on here so that you can decide if you trust this Canadian oil company with your fresh water. Thank you.
Next is Bill, followed by John Woodward and Sarah Coffey.
Hello. I am very concerned that the intensity, complexity, and gravity of this project has not been fully considered by the board or any of these independent contractors that we are talking about today. This is planning to be a nearly 5-mile tunnel under the Straits of Mackinac, through the bedrock. I don't know of any engineering project that has ever been attempted at this scale and complexity. And I don't understand how our update for progress that Enbridge can give is to come up and say, hey, we're making progress. That's not an update. You spent 20 seconds talking about your progress. The state needs to name its contractors. You have to say that Delve Underground is providing the independent quality insurance. And you have to say that HT Engineering is helping out with the engineering. Where's your contractors? Who are you working with? Who's actually going to do this construction of this incredibly massive, incredibly risky, very dangerous project? It's wild that the state holds itself to higher standards than the companies actually doing this construction. The independent quality assurance contractor talked about doing what their scope of work is, reading daily reports, but I don't understand how they're actually going to verify the structural integrity of this tunnel and actually like understand how this project is going to be completed with the quality assurance. Do you understand the damage done by Enbridge's last major project in this region, Line 3? They trenched under rivers. They trenched under and they pulled the pipeline through. And aquifers are still breached and rivers are still collapsed due to those efforts. The only reason we know the full extent is because independent volunteers have been monitoring the sites and reporting aquifer breach where the state's independent quality assurance contractors failed. So I don't think that the state contractors, the quality assurance contractors, are going to be able to verify and validate the safety of this project. And I think you all need to understand that it's going to be very, very hard to actually monitor the quality of the tunnel as it's being dug under the bedrock of the Straits of Mackinac. So, yeah, I understand you guys don't want this pipeline to exist, but you have the authority to pull this project's permits. You can do that. You need to do that. Because this project should not exist, this pipeline should not exist, and this tunnel should never exist. Please do not let this tunnel exist. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, next is John Woodward, Sarah Coffey, and Andrew.
Good morning. I am profoundly emotionally disturbed being here for a handful of times over a couple years now, begging for the water and the safety of all of our lives to be considered at the same gravity as the economic benefits of some damn fucking pipeline. I am so disturbed. And this whole process is just an absolute disgrace. It is a disgrace that we are here entertaining this criminal organization that has just no grounds to be invited by the state into a conference room to have public comment. This is absolutely absurd. And y'all need to quit your jobs, for real. This is just insane. You need to protect your families. You need to protect the water. There's no economy without the water. There's no jobs. There's no recreation. There's no safety in your community. There's no safety for any of us. It is the most important thing. We can do our lives without this pipeline, easily. As it's been pointed out, we cannot function without water. We cannot function. None of it works. This is the greatest freshwater reserve in the fucking planet. I'm just so beyond capacity and words. If you are genuine about wanting to shut down Line 5, the whole public is watching, and you need to revoke this permit for the tunnel. I get the whole we don't have authority over the pipeline nuance, but for real, take a stand. My sibling, take a stand and do something, for real. I'm watching you. We are all watching you. And you're not the only one. All right, we are paying attention. And guys, you need to do something. We know who you are too. Do something.
All right, 3 more individuals have signed up for public comment. Sarah, Andrew, and Matthew.
Hey there, good morning. So earlier you said that we could ask questions and you would, if
Yes.
possible, answer the questions.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And I also want to thank you for coming to Detroit. There are people across the entire state who are so committed to protecting the Great Lakes. So it's really helpful for you to come down here. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of each other over the years. So, I'm sure this will be the first of many meetings that we will get to spend time together. I am from Kalamazoo. I grew up in Kalamazoo. I went to high school in Kalamazoo. And so I think, people can understand why folks who are directly impacted by the negligent running of Enbridge, their atrocious track record of spills. I think folks could understand why there are people who are committed to making sure that this tunnel is not going to go through. And, I think some people talked about, we're working on an inside-outside strategy. You know, so we want to work with people on the inside of the administration, you know, people who feel the same way and are in positions of power, who maybe can't stand up here and speak with the same passion and clarity as some of the people who have come up here today. But I just want to put that out there, you know, that this is going to take all of us to shut down this pipeline. And so even though, you know, people's energy might feel off-putting and feel attacking, we are attacking injustice, you know, and we are fighting for, my grandson is here with me today, I'm fighting for his future, you know. Michigan is such an important waterway, you know, our waters here are so important, and so under no circumstance, you know, like on my life, this pipeline is not going through. And so I had a couple questions. You had said that there was a statute that governs your authority. Could you cite that statute?
I don't have the specific, this is like the first meeting I didn't actually
No, it's okay.
bring this
We can
statute with me, but.
Okay, we can get that later, but.
Yes.
And then you said that there are legal services. Are those to defend against Attorney General Nestle's lawsuit to shut down Line 5?
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry.
Repeat that question.
You said that there are legal services being paid for?
Oh, that was, so there is typically an assistant attorney general assigned to represent the authority or to give legal advice to the authority.
Okay, so
It's for that purpose. It's separate and aside from Attorney General Nestle's legal action attempting to terminate operation.
Okay,
of
so it's
Line
like
5.
bifurcated her office and she's.
Yeah, typically the person who has represented the authority is an outside attorney that the Attorney General's office retains for that purpose.
And what is the budget for the legal services?
Oh, I can get that number for you and either arrange to provide it for you or
Thank you so much, I
reference it
appreciate that.
at the next meeting.
And do you recall Enbridge saying that the state of Michigan would not be saddled with any of the costs of the tunnel project?
The contract that Enbridge entered with the state prior to us being on the authority, but as part of the initial contract that they entered into, provides that Enbridge would bear the costs of construction of the.
Okay, so construction only.
As to operation, I think it is then envisioned that they would bear the costs of operation over the life of the tunnel's operation.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. Appreciate you. And everyone here.
Next, Andrew, Matthew, and an additional individuals is going to speak, Rachel. So the last three, Andrew, Matthew, and Rachel.
Hey, good morning. My name is Andrew Kaplowitz. I'm the Climate and Energy Justice Lead at Detroiters Working for Environmental Justice. DWEJ is the oldest EJ organization in the state of Michigan. We've been around for 30 years, trying to advocate on behalf of impacted communities, most of which are in Detroit. As some of the other speakers have pointed out, oil from Line 5 is refined in the Marathon plant, and that impacts air quality, leading to all sorts of rare cancers and other health issues among people in the city of Detroit. Obviously, these issues are not just localized to Detroit, but also experienced by many other people who live in areas where oil is refined, and of course, like where we burn oil at the end of the day. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I just want to provide some context for some of the other things that I want to articulate here. As many other people have pointed out, I understand that you have limited authority over this, but that does not mean that you don't have power, right? That's why you're sitting on that side of the table and we're all over here. With that said, my question is, what side are you on? In situations of injustice, you can't be neutral, right? You can't say, our authority was limited, so we just did the best we could with the position we were in. Well, you can say that, but honestly, it falls a little flat when we're talking about the Great Lakes, which contain 20% of the world's fresh water. Around this time last year, I was at a UN conference. People were speaking about environmental issues from all over the world, and the sentiment was people are incredulous that folks in Michigan are even entertaining the idea of continuing to operate pipelines through the Great Lakes. Most of the world doesn't have access to the fresh water that we do, and the policy decisions that are being made in this state are damning. History will look back at this moment, and it will know what side you chose. Pick a side. So, where are we in this historical moment? The state of Michigan just passed a resolution that aims to have a 100% carbon-free energy source by 2040. It also is only one of a number of states to do so, right? There's a growing trend, is my point. There's IRA funds coming from the federal government for clean energy infrastructure projects. There is federal funding coming through the Justice 40 initiative to help impacted communities. And all of this, we know the federal government is not necessarily the avant-garde, right? I don't think that's an overstatement. The federal government is responding to information that we've had for decades. We've known the science of climate change since the 1970s. We've failed to act meaningfully until recently, and now we are taking action. So now you, who are sitting in a position of power at this critical juncture in time, must choose what you want to do with that power, what direction you think all this shit is gonna go. I also want to share some personal experiences. So, like many people here, I grew up around the Great Lakes. I love the Great Lakes. I feel like it's in my blood. And I was also involved in the fight against Line 3, which was run by the criminal organization known as Enbridge. At Line 3, I was at Red Lake Treaty Camp, where they were conducting horizontal directional drilling. Question, have either of you ever been to an HDD site, a horizontal directional drilling site?
I haven't.
Yeah. So you remember the vibrations that you felt in the earth while they were drilling? Yes? Yeah. You remember how, were they operating at night or was it day when you went there?
Yeah, it's been both day and night, so.
Okay, so you remember how there was all the light pollution because they have to have the space illuminated. My point is that this is a very disruptive activity. Do you know what size of like boring head that they were using at the HDD site?
Yeah, I've been at different sites, so yeah.
Okay. Right. My point is that most of these pipelines, the ones that they've put in recently in Minnesota, have been relatively what we'll call standard size, right? Standard being at least 4 feet across, large enough for someone to crawl inside of, right? To lock themselves down inside of and to prevent drilling. These are all things that have happened, right? Now what they want to do is something 4 or 5 times that. This is a 17-foot diameter tunnel. It's going to be in place for years. The disruptions that you experienced and I experienced at these horizontal directional drilling sites is going to be nothing compared to the disruption that's being caused by this tunnel project, the proposed tunnel project, which can be shut down still. With this infrastructure project, there's going to be, assuming that like you're only going to look at the tunnel project, which I know is the limit of your authority, there's plenty of reasons why you should deny this. The disruption to the local economy because people aren't going to want to go and visit the Straits of Mackinac, the fact that like the workforce, which will be brought in from out of state, because these are all very specialized trades, are not actually going to benefit the people. So when Enbridge talks about economic opportunities from this project, I urge you to look at that with skepticism. I think that there's a myriad of reasons why the environmental impacts of this project are super negative, and I'll sort of leave it at that. And the one other thing that I'll say is I also know that these governing bodies are a lot of bullshit, and that if we actually want to create change, we're going to have to do it ourselves. So get involved with the grassroots fights. There's a lot of good organizations and activists who've spoken today. And also look into things like, I'm repping this shirt for a dismantle DTE campaign. So all the folks who are like DTE ratepayers are trying to get together and build some public power around that, help people get resources to, first of all, get assistance with their energy bills and stuff like that, and then actually advocate collectively to you know, throw the bird up to DTE, because these energy corporations are all really fucking us over, and we're sick of it.
All right. Next is Matthew, and lastly will be Rachel.
Okay, before Matthew starts, just to address your question on the statute, it's Public Act 359 of 2018.
And I think that is on the authority's website.
Yes,
as
it's
well.
on the
If
website
you
as
just
well.
Google Mackinac Straits Corridor Authority, the statute will be there. Also, with respect to your question about budgeting of the legal contract, I think it probably makes sense for us to get some rudimentary budgeting information posted on the website as well. So maybe between now and the next meeting, we can try to do that. Andrew, you're up. I'm sorry, was it Andrew?
No, I'm going to start
Andrew was
by
the
asking
last
for a
one.
parlay real fast to go over. I'm going to introduce myself. Okay, my name is Matthew Bork.
Matthew.
Okay, I'm an appellant, as this gentleman here who is an appellee in the appeals process. So I would like to ask, this meeting, you know, was scheduled to 1 o'clock. I would like to ask as much of a grace as this gentleman has. I do have some questions, and I want to just update you with these different things. I too am a volunteer. I did look on the website and notice that you were a volunteer. I appreciate that. There's some things, you made a change in the public comment based on my comment last time, but I would first, before I go into the rest of the things, I would like the opportunity to be fair, which means opening up the door a little bit more to not have the 3-minute time, because I'm sorry, I'm bundled up, I'm very cold in here.
I'll give you my general view is I interpret 3 minutes as a guideline, but unless someone is just going far afield, or if we had 100 people speaking, you know, but just go ahead.
Thank you so very, very much. First, I wanted to ask this gentleman, were you part of the Rover pipeline project as well? Do you have like some mostly Michigan pipeline services, essentially? Nothing in other states or anything like that?
Yeah, Matthew, if you can direct your questions to us, and some of them we may just ask of the other folks. Some of them we may try to get information and then either post it or reference it at the next meeting. But I think that's probably the best way to get a good information flow.
Yeah, obviously to answer, you know, some of the other questions about where the lawyer budgets the different things. So again, I'm asking partially some of this information because he's getting paid to be here. I'm not. I'm a volunteer. Right. But my family's state tax dollars is going to pay him to be here. Okay, so that's why I'm just trying to balance things out. a little bit. First, I want to ask you, did you get the Christmas cards? Did you get any Christmas cards?
I'm not sure if there is a,
Okay, so at your last meeting on December 7th, you spoke about the need, if you were going to appeal this process, you would need to have a meeting by January 1st.
right, right.
Correct?
So if your reference is, did we receive around Christmas a number of
Yes.
communications?
Yes.
Yes, we
You did. Thank you, that's good. The reason why that happened was because at the end of the public comment, the end of that meeting, at the end of the day, the porthole to speak in the public comment was closed at the end of the day, so we had no other way to communicate to you, okay? And so we directed things to Mr. Mitchell here,
right.
with care of you, to try and make sure, you know, again, we're trying to figure out how to get these windows open. To go back to that, you know, between this meeting and the last meeting, they're correct, you have 10 days to put on to post the meetings, is according to the Public Meetings Act. Again, as a little background on me, I'm not a lawyer. I'm indigent because of being targeted by other pipeline companies, and have found the only way for me to create some kind of justice is to take action within the court case, within the court system. So I didn't get a response from you guys about appealing, so I went ahead and filed as an appellant. As far as the notice for people to come into this meeting, like the meeting that you had in St. Ignace, I appreciate you mentioned that you wanted to come out down to Detroit to make it available to hear from other people. And we really appreciate that, right? The struggle has been the notice, okay? It's hard to, so let's take this meeting for an example. It was mentioned that it went up on the MDOT website at some point in time, right after the last meeting. But you guys even admitted in the meeting that you might have to have a meeting on January 1st. The notification went out for this meeting from the MDOT site January 30th at 1:30. That is less than 3 days' notice. Less than 3 days' notice. Now, right underneath that, it says that MDOT request 5 days' notice for disability access. Okay, so we don't even have the time to try and figure out, you know, how to get people here. It's a different space. I had to pay $7 for parking. We don't know where to park, right? But we seem to have a problem. So there's some other steps. I appreciate that you made it so that we can upload PDFs. I would appreciate it if that public comment porthole is continuously open, because, again, for us to be able to give you information, that would be very much appreciated. And I would ask that for the live streams, that people can make public comments virtually. I'm not sure how I'm going to make it up to the St. Ignace one. I try and attend all of your meetings, volunteer my time just as well, okay? And we're trying to do our best to give a lot of this information. And that's just just trying to figure out the meeting stuff, right? I see, obviously, there's only 2 of you here, not 3. I would hope that the state of Michigan, I don't even know how we're having some of these meetings without having a full kind of committee. If you need an extra person, maybe I'll throw my thing in the hat, because the information that you guys are getting, okay, all seems to be coming from these workers. It's now, the last woman from Sierra Club asked about this the last time, and she talked about the FOIA request and trying to get access to information, okay? We're not being able to see the information they're sharing with you. These are protected things. We don't even know what's in the pipe. This is all, you know, Enbridge material is secret, right? They're educating you with their propaganda. And we don't even have an opportunity to even look at any of the rest of that stuff. Okay, we don't have to contradict it or anything, okay? Let's try and bring up some of the social justice issues, right? People in indigenous nations and the water issues have continuously tried to say, hey, wait a second, what is going on? We're trying to speak up for different things. The Freedom of Religions Restoration Act wasn't passed till 1993. That means that indigenous people were arrested for praying or being brown. Quite commonly, and it still happens today, and this woman might understand what it is to be targeted for being brown, okay? I'm in a different situation, not the same. I monitor pipeline activity. That's what I've learned to do because I realize that the other monitors aren't there. This gentleman said 10%, okay? They expect to be out there maybe 10%. But then he said, oh, we're gonna have somebody on site the whole time. Now, in that 10%, are they gonna be in the water inspecting, or there seems to be like a buddy-buddy relationship? They're concerned about their buddy-buddy relationship with Enbridge, but not the state of Michigan. I go up close to that easement, I'm gonna get followed by cops, potentially arrested. It's happened. It's continuously happened. I have another court case against the other company because they were caught contaminating the water. The police wouldn't take a report. They, who hired the police, said, I poured the contamination there, okay? That's why I had to go to court. I'm indigent because these pipeline companies are coming into our towns and destroying our community. Okay? You're talking about the FBI targeting these people, okay? People that are concerned with clean water, okay? People that are concerned and sacrificing their whole life to make this world a better place. Yes, there's some concerns about a 99-year contract in your authority that you have for this, because you don't get it for another 99 years. So that's really when maybe when your authority starts. Maybe, I mean, I'm still struggling where your real authority is in some of these decisions, quite honestly, and it's maybe
So are we.
are you, right? You know, and whether you can make a decision to say, no, we want something better, because, you know, another thing that, you know, you might not be aware of, okay, is that a lot of times when they set up these contracts, and again, that's the stuff we can't get through FOIA, so we can't, it's hard for us to help you with it, right, and understanding that. But usually when they set up these contracts, we have to use Enbridge for 99 years. You were talking initially about a decommissioning plan in, say, 50 years, but that's not the way the contract works. We make a contract with Enbridge, we're responsible to allow Enbridge to utilize that pipeline for 99 years. And if we say before that, we're done with it, we'd like it to stop, there's no need for it, Enbridge then will charge us that $500 million. Okay.
Matthew,
Yeah.
We've given you well over 3 minutes. Do you have any concluding remarks?
Just that again, if you need an extra seat, maybe I'll throw my name in a hat. My name is Matthew Bork. If you want a volunteer of a public individual, let's get some communication going. Thank you.
The window is open, and I'll mention this to all of the audience. My understanding is the window is open right now for anyone who wants to apply to become the third authority member. If you look at somewhere on the governor's website is an application process for appointments to boards and commissions. And without having looked recently, if you Google around on that, you will find the opportunity to submit your name if you are interested in being appointed to the authority.
All right, and I would just also like to add that comments or communications to the authority are available on the website anytime. It's open both through the email address and the contact form on the website. And the last person for public comment is Rachel Lipson.
Good morning. I'm here to express my extreme concern for the implications of this project going forward. I understand that the tunnel has been proposed as a method of making transporting oil and other utilities safer. However, both in the construction of the tunnel itself and the potential mitigation for spills and other incidents afterward, I have seen nothing to reassure me that these things are adequately addressed, especially with a tunnel, or rather a pipeline of this magnitude. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And a spill of the magnitude that is possible with this tunnel could be a Chernobyl in Lake Superior. It would have downstream effects on everybody who touches that aquifer. It would have a downstream effect on all of our grandchildren, if not beyond. I just feel like Enbridge is a profit-seeking corporation. That is why they exist. They ostensibly are here to provide energy, but fundamentally their goal is to provide their shareholders with profit. So it is unsurprising to me that they would push profit in this particular instance. However, how much are the Great Lakes worth? How much is it worth to have drinkable water? I actually would really love to have any input from people in industry in cases where a large spill has been sufficiently mitigated to allow ecosystem rejuvenation after a spill. I have not seen any compelling arguments that this has ever happened, and the idea of this happening in Lake Superior, which is truly near and dear to my heart and the Great Lakes in general, is horrifying. It's like watching your children's school be covered in oil, potentially, or having someone build a pipeline through your school. And I am very, very, very concerned that Enbridge, in its pursuit of profit, is going to leave Michiganders holding the bag in terms of all of the environmental effects, all of our children, that we will be locked into a 100-year contract that fundamentally works against all of our goals to create a less carbon-filled future, that any plan to go green is going to be stifled by the fact that we are locked into this contract. What are our values here? Is it to increase production and increase the transport of oil and gas, or is it to look for alternatives? And it just seems the height of ignorance at best. And I'm not calling anyone here ignorant, but just to believe that, there will be no mistakes, no accidents in an endeavor of this magnitude, as we've seen given the track record of the companies involved. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else for public comment?
That is the end of public comment.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience who wanted to give public comment? Let me make one brief observation about public comment. I have personally an extremely high tolerance level for profanity. And I respect the passion that some of the speakers have come up and addressed us with, and understand that that may inspire them to use profanity when they address us. At the same time, I also want these meetings to be meetings where people feel comfortable not only attending, but if they had to, for example, bring their child or their grandchild while they're attending it, that they feel comfortable doing that as well. And not everyone has the same level of tolerance or acceptance of profanity as I do. So in respect for trying to assure that this is a place where any member of the public, including members of the public that are a little more gun-shy about profanity, I'd encourage you to attempt, when you're speaking, to dial it back. And that's all I'll say on that. We can talk about it afterwards. Yeah. Well, okay. That's all. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
So, all in favor, aye?
Aye.